We can do it right this time. Yeah.
And we are live. It's loading in, everybody. It's loading up. So I can see the screen and get the link to share. Yep, there we go.
Okay, I think we're live now.
We are live.
Episode 6, mental slavery.
Yeah.
I had to take out the hip hop, in which we are going to talk about hip hop. We're going to talk about hip hop, different perspectives of mental slavery, and the true meaning of decentralization. And are we ready for it? With our special guest that will be here very shortly, blockchain Vandal.
He's smashing up the blockchain. He's smashing it up.
As in
Yo,
vandalism.
how did you mispronounce Vandal?
Oh, that's because I looked at the DAL a little too hard.
You got a granny early, bro.
Vandal.
You're the greatest.
I corrected myself like ASAP. Nobody heard it.
Vandal.
I said Vandal, as in vandalism. See?
He's thinking for them Van Damme movies he watches.
Yo.
Yeah, there you go. I was thinking about Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, no, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah. Oh, whatever.
He's also in the chat. Hey, man, the link is in your email, man. Come on and join us. We definitely got a topic at hand. Let me fix the description for everybody.
Hey, stop taking a selfie, self-suffice. Oh, no, it's in your name. But like, yeah.
No, I'm sending out my Instagram.
Okay, that's good.
Make sure everybody come on in and hit
what they think about the topic, mental slavery and decentralization.
Yeah.
Come on and hit the like.
Do they think we going too far, or do they think this is what's needed?
Well, I don't think we're saying have mental slavery, are we? We're not. We're not pro. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got the. Let's we are we? I don't know. Is that the act going on?
No.
Let's all enslave ourselves mentally.
But that's the thing, right? Like when you talk about things that are happening, when you try to like tell people about things that are unjust in the world, you are seen as the person that's causing them. And the phrase that always comes up is, why do you have to take it there? So I like to remind my friends that are activists, like, you are not taking it there. It's there, and you're trying to let people know it shouldn't be there. Don't take the blame for it being there just because people are trying to ignore it.
Yeah.
If they don't want you to take it there, they should be more proud of you for letting people know, yo, it's there. Let's take it somewhere else.
It's all about bringing the awareness. You know, you can't fix a problem if you don't realize that it's there or you're not addressing it, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting about all the sort of stuff at the moment is there's a lot more avenues for people to have different opinions, which is the good and bad thing on the internet. You know, obviously the American thing is or the your president's thing is always going on about the fake news, which, you know, I can understand in some ways the mainstream sort of media. But I think Pascal talked about this last week, how he watches loads of YouTube sort of stuff, and there's loads of sort of different ways that we're getting our information from. And what we're doing here is like different voices out there. You know, I think that's the strength of what's going on with all the sort of stuff that we're doing.
Yes. I mean, we get a chance to do that.
It's just so weird that, like, you know, the good thing is that you can have different opinions, right?
Yeah.
The bad thing is that you can have facts being discussed as if they are opinions.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Well, yeah, the opposite is opinions discussed as facts. Yeah.
As facts, yeah, there you go.
And that's the main problem. Yeah, it's like, I think this, but you know, that's true. Yeah, so
but that's like, yeah, I see what you're saying, because that's a big problem, like with our president and stuff like that. But I still say at the end of the day, facts are more important. So I'm scared when, like, there's actual facts that people are just like, oh, this is that and this is that. And it's like, no, like, water actually turns to gas. Like, there are actually still nuclear weapons that need to be dismantled. Like, there are people who can't vote and have been arrested illegally. You know what I mean? Like, like all these facts that we really need to talk about.
Yes.
I think a lot of our ancestors thought there would be a time where, like, information would be free and everybody would know. And once the truth comes to light, everyone will get together. And it's like the truth came to light, but it gets discussed along with a bunch of crap and a bunch of opinions. So that's what scares me the most.
Yeah.
Yes, no. Because it makes it more of a argument then. You know what I mean? It's a more of a debate. It's all, and a debate turns into an argument or another form of an argument, which then gets heated because people are not getting their point across or feeling understood.
Right.
Then just leads into a blow up, which is the scary part, because we're supposed to be bringing awareness to certain issues to bring change.
Right.
You know, or find a solution.
Yeah.
You know, within. So, oh man, we already starting off the topic.
Mental slavery and decentralization here on MC Plays.
Yes, but
Episode
first, before
6.
we get into
Season
the
2
main topics, yeah, I mean, hey, season 2 has been nothing but deep conversations. Hit the like button if you've been rocking with season 2. Let's go.
We going viral this year, baby.
Oh, before we get into our topics, I want to give a shout out to, you know, our brother, Mr. Magoober.
What up, Magoober?
Listen. He has he just uploaded a video on Musicoin TV. I just want y'all to check this out, man. This is becoming one of my favorite instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? This instrument is very powerful. Let me make sure the sound.
By the way, Vandal is in the chat, so make sure he knows he could join the call.
Yeah,
he's on the YouTube chat.
So check it out. Check him getting it in. Now, this was good to see our brother utilizing his talents.
I was going to say it's amazing. I was going to say dustbin lid, but it's amazing what you can do with a trash can lid for my American friends.
Right.
I don't believe it is fun, is it?
Yeah, hold up. I'm sharing the wrong screen.
Oh, man.
I want to share him.
That sounded good, though.
It sounded great. You see it now?
Yeah.
There he goes. Check it out, though. Check him out. Check out Daniel. Yes, look, I just wanted to give him a shout out because I think that's a dope instrument. And on top of that, it just sounds great. And you can look at
lovely.
You can see the facial expressions that he's giving. You can see how much you know passion he's putting into it.
He's in the zone. He's in the
zone. And I mean, a lot of people were wondering where he was, and you can see by the shape of that flying saucer that he's gone very far from where he started. And actually came back and merged a turtle back with a flying saucer, which he can then float around on whenever he needs to, from Amsterdam to Britain and beyond. So thank you for bringing us these alien technologies of sound healing, Magoober. Salute. And also on the table, before we bring in our special guest, Blockchain Vandal, we gotta also announce that Musicoin has officially welcomed and on the board a general legal counsel by the name of Tamiko Rochelle Franklin, aka TR. She will be here on next week's show, presenting to us, the terms of service, the new terms of service for Musicoin. Make sure we fully understand the legalities behind it, the intellectual property infringement, and just how to protect your content and so forth and so on. So this is going to be another powerful episode loaded with information that we need as independent artists and musicians.
You need to know this stuff. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So make sure you stay tuned for next week's episode, where we will have our legal counsel here live on MC Plays.
And I'm more concerned with how we can get paid to share our content and collaborate more. Because the main thing with infringement in the past has been preventing artists from working with each other.
Yeah. Or the other one is to take all the royalties. There's lots of cases of people did they probably shouldn't have sampled something, but
people that have nothing to do with the music owning all the royalties, and people who do have something to do with music not being able to work together.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, you know the story, the De La Soul one with the Turtles. They sampled that tune on their album. Do you know about this? 90s. Like,
remind me of that. That was a big one.
Because they sampled like a tiny little bit of the Turtles, which they didn't have. They didn't have the rights. They didn't have the rights for. So they cleared most of the song, but they didn't clear that one. They changed it, so it sounds quite different than the original. But it's this tiny bit of the album. But the Turtles sued them and got a lot of money. They got virtually all the royalties.
Wow.
So it was more like the fact that they didn't clear it cost them way more than,
Yeah.
So, again, it's that argument, should there be an easy way just to do this without having to gain permission from some obscure sort of, artist?
Right. Go ahead. No, I was going to say,
some artists don't want their, there was was it Biz Markie? What was the one he sampled as well?
You got what I need.
Nobody beats the Biz. That was the one.
That was another one.
But what's the one? By the Wiz, the Biz.
No, it was another one. He sampled it. Who was it? It was an old 70s artist, but he hated hip hop, and he was just like, I don't want my music used for this style of music, if you like. It was he wasn't positive about hip hop, shall we say that? Yeah.
That's why we need hip hop on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Is that why we need decentralization in this music industry?
Good link. Good link, man. Good link, man.
And with that being said, let's welcome in our special guest that also represents blockchain hip hop, the blockchain vandal himself. Hey.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah. Naturally. Yeah.
There he goes. There he goes.
That's the one.
Straight out of South London.
Yeah. Oh, Opera in the chat says the instrument Magooby was playing was a hang drum. So
the hand drum.
Hang
drum.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get
bang.
As you see, he's opening up his camera right now.
Pull up.
There he is.
Go, boom.
There he is.
What's up, y'all? How's it going?
What's up? Peace.
How we doing?
Yeah. Glad to be on the show.
We're glad to have you. We're glad to have you. This is definitely going to be a great show. I know you bring some powerful information to the table, and you represent that blockchain on the hip hop, or that hip hop on the blockchain. As you see the name right here, blockchain hip hop at the bottom. You represent that hard in your work, and I definitely want to, tap into that. But if you don't know,
now you know.
Vandal here, hip hop artist, entrepreneur, idea factory, huh? There we go.
Right.
This is a profile. Make sure everybody go follow Vandal right here on Musicoin. Yeah. Play his music. I played some of his music earlier. Can we play a track and give the people a sample of who we actually listening to? Can you give us which one should we play?
Play the Rap Crypto, man, since it's appropriate dialogue.
The Rap Crypto.
Let's go.
Holding down the
right out the gate.
Straight out the gate.
Big ups to the UBI crew.
Yo, this track is dedicated to all the crypto pioneers. Shout out to Max Kaiser and Jeff Berwick for the inspiration. Yo, this one's for you. Rap crypto, y'all know Bitcoin. I want to thank y'all for checking out this joint. See, I'm Vandal, the token rapper, and this right here is a brand new chapter. Follow me as I go Rambo to the moon in my brand new Lambo. That's right, the new sensation. And if you like it, please leave a donation. All we need's another block in the chain to verify the game. Mad bots know my name. so hot, but don't flame stay civil. Nothing but the miners in the middle with the riddle. To the moon, now suckers catching FOMO. Caught up on the promo, panic selling on polo. Pushing the limits of a trade on that telegram hype. They in it to get paid, you can't tell a man tight. They say the bubble is near, so when the trouble appears, they all stumble in fear. That's the end of your career, said the Guaylo. Cause you forgot, sell high, buy low. And if you hold it, like
drop some knowledge on them.
how the hell would I know? But I know, as clear as a photo. Could it be that I'm Satoshi Nakamoto? Rap, y'all know Bitcoin. I wanna thank y'all for checking out this joint. See how
Serious.
funky rapper, and this right here is my chapter. Follow me as I go Rambo to the moon in my brand new Lambo. That's right, the new sensation. And if you like it, please leave a donation. Big up to Crypto Bud and Ryan Lai. Both of these cats help me increase supply. That's the knowledge that I used when I started out. So now I share, cause that's what it's all about. Watch the market cap before I start my rap. And if you're listening, I hope you're gonna holler back. Strong hands on deck, let's sail and not fail to harpoon that whale. Pump and dump, better use your brains. They're wreaking havoc all over the exchange. I'm not buying it, I do my own research. I'm not lying, I do my own t-shirts. My intention is to set you free. Your only problem is FUD. So I'ma hit it hard like a Kodo. Could it be that I'm Satoshi Nakamoto? Rap crypto, y'all know Bitcoin. I wanna thank y'all for checking out this joint. See I'm Vandal, the Toki rapper. And this right here is a brand new chapter. Follow me as I go Rambo to the moon in my brand new Lambo. That's right, the new sensation. And if you like it, please leave a donation. Alright, y'all, I left my wallet address below. So if you like what you hear, please leave a donation. Simply just hit the like button.
If you don't know, now you know.
Sizzling.
Woo. Who's still playing in the background?
That joint bonkers.
If you don't know, now you know. We definitely got another. We got another crypto rapper on the board right now.
Yeah.
Street crypto, graffiti your indelible brain, graffiti on your brain, memorable memories, dropping crypto gems, crypto facts on a smooth banger for the new 2018 and beyond.
Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Listen, this is ahead of its time. And, you know, one thing, let me highlight, you know, something about, you know, your music. You definitely bring the boom bap rap, you know, old school hip hop, you know, sound to the table. You know, and it's like you have a it's like it's you, it's a part of you. This is the way that you is. You could tell every track you get that sound, you know. So I mean, I would like, you know, for you to give us a little background about yourself.
Everybody who listened to that track with us and left a comment.
That's what's
You're
up.
watching this on replay on YouTube, you missed it. Every time you don't tune in live, you just missed it. I just tipped people just for doing comments, because that's what you could do on Musicoin. You can tip people for leaving comments, not just playing the music. And you missed it again. Shout out to everybody who I just tipped, because we showed up live. In the spirit of hip hop, it's live in person.
Yes. Live.
Yeah, in the background.
Yeah, take a drink, sir. Oh, you're going in self-suffice. I like it. Yeah.
We here with an original MC creator.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Set him off, Vandal. You set him off.
Live.
Hey, Vandal, you done set him off. Vandal, look, you got him.
MC plays, not MC played.
Look. Let me also make another point, Vandal. Before you get into the back.
Lower the music a little bit. It's hard to hear what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yo, CX Opera just tipped 100 coins on the track. Shout out to CX Opera.
CX Opera just tipped 100 coins. Listen, I want to show that. I want to actually show that live right now. This is what happens live on MC Plays.
Live.
When we play artist music, the viewers jump in and tip and go play. So you get plays and get paid while you're live on this show. Live, 100 coins just got tipped. On top of 5 from CW, 1 from me, Mink and Woo.
Bringing hip hop back to its original roots of being different.
So suffice, turn the music off in the background. We can't hear.
That's not music. That's not me. That's you. That's you, bro. That's not me.
Not me.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
that was new.
oh shit! Sorry.
That was British intelligence.
Yeah.
British intelligence had the Americans fighting amongst themselves.
Well, you know, it's the easiest way, mate. Divide and rule. You fall for it every time. Fall for it every time.
Oh snap! Yo, no, that was
Sorry
like
about
I said, man. He definitely we got hip hop live in effect right now. So yes, I mean, Vandal, please give us some background info on, you know, your hip hop journey. Why is this style of hip hop so embedded in you, and where you from, and yeah, let us know about yourself.
All right, word. So I grew up, born and raised in Toronto, Canada, and came into contact, I guess, with hip hop around 1986 when I was like around 12. So at the time, I was more interested in the dance. So I was like doing a bit of b-boying. We would go out onto the street and set up some cardboard and get down and boogie on the weekends.
Oh, you was getting down on
the cardboard b-boy
street.
I wouldn't consider myself a b-boy, but I like to dance. I never really took it to the next level, but it was just like having fun as a kid, you know, as a youth.
On the cardboard, though?
On the cardboard, you know.
That's pretty serious.
Having fun, you know. And after that, it wasn't until like 89, 90, and I discovered this radio show called The Power Move on the 88.1. That's the CKLN. It's no longer around. It's a community radio. It was the first like authentic hip hop show that I had heard ever.
Is that in Toronto? Yeah, Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryerson. It was part of the Ryerson University. And yeah, that got me hooked. And after that, it was like every Saturday I would like bust out my cassette. I only had one cassette, so I would like record over it every week. And, you know, put the tape over the top.
Yeah.
You put the tape in the hole, right?
Yeah. Cool hip hop stories.
That's proper ghetto, man. Just one cassette. We had one cassette. We had one cassette. Yeah.
And that means eventually you'd hear like last week's thing, because after a while it started to like wear through.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, just started to explore the different elements, met different people who were MCing. I like to write. Oh yeah.
That's when I recorded in New York, 89.
Chill out.
Sick. Yeah. I wish I could pull out some of my tapes right now. I don't have any in Malaysia.
Still got them. Still got a lot of them.
Hold that up again. Hold that up. Hey, youth, what you know about this?
Yeah, man.
What you know about the cassette tape?
Speaking of which, shout out to Chris Lighty, rest in peace. Shout out to the new podcast Mogul. I've been listening to it all week, and they go through Red Alert, Chris Lighty, everything from 68 up to the present, and they talk about like the life and times of Chris Lighty. So it's real. I feel like there's a real appreciation right now of how long hip hop is. For the past couple years since it's so popular, people been referring to the old school as like Big and Pac. You know what I mean? People were referring to like the late 90s and 2000s like that's old school, when we know it goes back way before that to where you talking about. So thank you for bringing back to the cassettes. You know, did you ever have to tape a cassette back together with some Scotch tape or use a pencil to rewind it?
Yeah, the rewinding with the pencil, and then like, you know, when it gets caught up in the head and then smashes up and then you take it out and wheel it back up, straighten it out.
What? Remember when the tape used to come out?
Talk to these people.
The tape used to come all the way out, and you would have to wind it real slow so it don't get jammed up. What? And then when it did, you got to iron that thing out, try to come on, get it smooth. And I've made some tapes work that's been wrinkly. I have made some work.
What, you iron them?
Not like with my fingers, like,
Not with a hot iron.
I was gonna say, what the fuck?
Hey, you just tighten it on the both ends. You tighten it up.
Hold on, mate. Hold on. I'm just gonna iron me tapes, straighten up a bit.
So we got a true pioneer, man. And his way of hip hop. Straight from the T dot.
Yeah, man.
And so in the 90s, when did you start? So when did you start rapping?
Probably right around 1990.
90, huh?
Like 90, and then I've always been like writing anyways, like short stories, poetry, different experimental creative writing and stuff. So
it took you a while, actually.
An issue. But yeah, like 91 is when I started writing. And
what took you so long? What took you so long? You said you was into breaking in like the 80s. How come it took you till the 90s to start rapping?
Yeah, I had a shift. I wasn't like fully into the hip hop culture in the 80s. It was more like it was a dance thing that we used to do just to have fun. I wasn't really surrounded by all the other elements and the emceeing until it just kind of like discovered it on the radio. Then,
is that because of how it was emerging in Toronto? Like, can you give us a little bit of the timeline of what was blowing up in Toronto? Like, the first I heard of Toronto was like cats like Socrates, and Chocolate and stuff like that.
Yeah, in 94, actually, I was part of this program called Fresh Arts, and it was like a summer program. And Cardinal, Socrates, the whole Circle crew, Wide Look, Double Soul, a lot of cats who were doing stuff throughout the years in Toronto hip hop were all a part of that program as well. And the most successful of them all,
so
really.
So you were in a program with Socrates and them?
Yeah, in 94.
Oh, wow.
Fresh Arts. Big up to Motion and John Bronsky. For that one.
Oh,
nice.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was cool.
When was that, and like how was it? Because like we want to parallel it to what was happening in America at that time.
All right. Yeah, I mean, in '92, I got Roland W30 a sampler, and I started making beats around '92. And during my like experiments in making beats and then forming like a small crew of some of my friends who were also interested and who were also writing lyrics and performing and rapping. So at the time when I was working on my lyrical craft, more through freestyle, the other guys were doing the raps and I was making the beats. Usually I was left to beatboxing as well because I was the only one in the crew who could beatbox, and we would always have like cypher sessions.
Could we get a little sample of that right now?
The old school? All right, I can bring it back to the old school then.
Yeah, flip flops to the hip hop like sandals on the MC plays with the Vandal. Open up, I cannot explain all the things that we talk about on the blockchain. This is crypto, not the stock exchange. They could dip low and do the wildest things. I bought this computer I'm on using Musicoin, and that's word is bomb.
There we go. Wow, we could keep going all night with that.
MC plays exclusive stuffers.
Nice.
I definitely think you two gotta do a collab, man. You two.
Let's do it, man.
Y'all gotta do
a collab. We'll get Lethal Skills to provide the beat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Yo, Skills, if you're listening. He's in Lebanon right now, so I don't.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Do you know how he's doing? Have you spoken to him out there or like? Cause
yeah, he's good. He's good, man. He's just finished up his last gig. He was doing some workshops and like a DJ, whatever, like a meetup for DJs.
Yeah.
And so he's coming back to Malaysia in a couple of days.
Okay. Yeah. Because where are you based now? Where are you based?
I'm in Malaysia.
Are you in Malaysia? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Based in Malaysia.
Like, my eyes are a little like on the fading side. It's about 2 a.m.
Oh god, yeah. 2 a.m. Yeah, when we had Lethal Skills, it was 2 a.m. Yeah, that's not the best time for you, like, yeah.
That's cool though.
No, man. Shout out to you for even, joining on the show at this time, right? That's 2 a.m. Like you said, your eyes is low. It's late. Your energy is different. Our energy is all up here. It's early afternoon over here. It's
evening here. Yeah.
Evening. So no, we definitely appreciate that. But you bringing that information, you brought us back to, the old school, reflecting on tape players and dubbing the tapes, and like this is where the essence of hip hop, begin. And we really try to highlight these moments, especially for the youth, that really think that old school hip hop is in 1999, you know what I'm saying, or just with Biggie and Tupac. It's more, it's a lot to hear, when someone else is giving their perspectives from how they grew up in hip hop in the late 80s, early 90s, and how you came into it. So have you been doing, like your hip hop thing on the local scene, throughout your career, or have you been, going I would say looking to go mainstream for it?
I've never really had mainstream ambitions. It was more about just like putting out songs that I thought had value and reflected, the experiences that I've been through in life. And a lot of that had to do with traveling, because I also had a lot of opportunities to travel to different parts of the world, be a part of different programs, and experience life living in other places. Albeit for short periods of time until I moved to Malaysia, but it also enabled me to just kind of like have a different perspective of Canada, of Toronto, different parts of Canada, North America, and just to kind of see the different dynamics of it. But yeah, it's been quite a journey along the way.
Most def. And you definitely just segue into a great topic of discussion of you traveling, being able to travel so much and get different perspectives. I don't know if, a lot of the viewers know you do have a very, we call it popping. Yo, your Steam It is popping over here. I went through your Steam It. Make sure everybody go follow Van Digital on Steam It, where you do blogs. And this blog post right here, definitely gives a different perspective to the challenges, we face and with mental slavery and things of that nature. Could you like tap back into this topic and this blog right here that you wrote, where you referenced, the redemption song, you referenced, Marcus Garvey.
All right. Let me just pull it up so I have it as a reference here.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
By the way, CX Opera wanted to know, do you speak French too, since you're from around that area, Montreal, Toronto, on the chat?
Yeah, je parle français, mais ça fait longtemps que je parle avec les gens.
Yeah.
I'm a little rusty with the French, but I speak a little bit of Malay, which is useful out here, probably more so than French. So
yeah.
Well, there you go, CX. You got a shout out. Merci beaucoup.
Ciao, CX.
Most definitely. So,
by the way, CX got one of those triple extension names. Rest in peace. So I'm not saying the full name. It's really like CXXXXV la la la. But
35, that is.
Oh, okay.
So,
maybe. I don't know.
No, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I guess which part did you guys want to talk about?
It was the emancipation yourself from mental slavery, where you talk about, how the Western paradigm always focus on white slave master and black slave, and then other parts of the world is different, where you've traveled to like Indonesia and you've seen their culture. So just like the comparison of the two and how that actually ties into freeing your mental slavery.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that we're finally in a place in the world that we've pretty much abolished slavery, and there's really a lot to look back on. But also where we are now in terms of the latest development. I think there was a lot of time that was able to pass to really understand the idea of mental slavery. And like being like looking at a lot of media and not really, you know, examining things critically. I think we often don't realize the level that we are enslaved. Not like we're, you know, tied up or forced to do things. It's more of sort of like a coercion, without us actually knowing it. So a lot of that has to do with like advertising and media, news. I guess most of the forms of media, like we're talking about, you know, cassettes, right? So before there were radios, and before radios, you know, you had books. Like I think you guys were talking about books as well.
Wait, you heard that conversation?
I did. Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. I really enjoyed that segment. So the way you bring, because I mean, cassettes were our MP3s in a sense, right? And as easy as it is to pass around MP3s now, I think we shared cassettes a lot more. You know what I mean? Like as difficult it was, and as much as they break and we had to twist them with pencils and Scotch tape, like it was a big deal to like trade a cassette or share a cassette with somebody. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now it's almost like we're talking about this at the beginning because this episode is about mental slavery and decentralization as well as hip hop and featuring you. We talked about how these days, like all these facts are available, but they get conflated with just opinions and random, you know, thirst trapping. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with the music. I feel like it's easier than ever to connect to like brilliant artists from all over the globe, but yet people are lazier than ever. So even though it's more accessible, they're still more likely to just know what what pop media wants them to hear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would you agree, or you think that's?
Yeah, I think I agree for the most part. You know, and I think that all has to do with availability, like the eyeballs that they have, you know, with the traditional media and the radio stations.
The traditional media is more in front of them instead of
right?
available. Right. Okay.
Yeah, and the online stuff, I think for the kids is mostly like Instagram, you know, or Snapchat.
Yep.
Kids aren't really even on Facebook too much, I don't think, you know. And like what you see with Instagram is you get this idea of like a lot of narcissism, and you know, people thinking about how people think about them. So I think it's a bit misleading in terms of, you know, what's popular, because it doesn't necessarily have to be about the music. It can be about that person, the personality, their character, how they are on Instagram, how they do their stories and their live videos, you know, and just their overall character as opposed to just the music. So it's not necessarily about the music for the masses, but then there are a lot of people who are finding a lot of, like what you're saying, there is a lot of dope music out there. Right. It may not be in the limelight, but I think the people who are looking for it are finding it, and finding that there's a lot of it too. You know, 2016, 2017 was really good, I think, for hip hop. Aside from like the mainstream stuff, there was a lot of music that came out, and I think even 2018, there's a lot of stuff that's
Shout out to Lima on the chat. Shout out to Neil Quinn. He's not on the chat, but Sound Phaser said he's listening. He just can't get on the chat from where he's at.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I mean, shout out to all the viewers, all the likes so far. Keep hitting that like button. So, I mean, tapping into, you know, how hip hop and the whole accessibility with new artists.
Canada?
You know, or around the world, period.
Or around the world, okay.
Yeah, you know, because
but you know, but it's funny keeping in mind that you are from Canada, because think about it. We had cats like Socrates and them who were underground. You said you were in a program with them,
right?
But then one of the biggest hip hop stars today is Drake. So that is very interesting. Going even worldwide, like Drake is at the top of the worldwide scene. But I remember like I was considered underground when I knew about Socrates, and then even when Cardinal Official blew up, it was still like it wasn't a sustained like big thing, and he was major. Like he had tracks with Busta Rhymes and everything, but people still weren't really recognizing Canada as it is. And now it's like Canada is definitely on the map, right? So like, how did that feel to you? Did you always feel like you were underground to the world, or did you even know that like it hadn't quite been on the map in America, like the East Coast and the West Coast and the South? It took a while for it to pop, but now like Drake is like the biggest thing in hip hop, right?
Yeah, I think from the perspective of a Torontonian during those days, it was like we were more the underdog in a sense where, you know, we were still developing our sound, our scene, you know, all the different elements. We had a lot of stuff that was going on culturally, I think, for hip hop that was very positive, and a lot of really creative and diverse sounding artists were starting to come out of Toronto. But at the same time, like I think in the US, it's so big compared to Toronto. Like there's so many more people. There's already a touring network. You know, cities would support their own artists, and like in Toronto, it was really just Toronto. You know, and it's funny because I was back in Toronto recently, and I bought this shirt. It says Toronto versus everybody, and it's kind of like ironic because really that's kind of how it is.
Really? So like out of the whole Canada, Toronto's really the only spot where hip hop gets.
No, I mean there's hip hop all over Canada, you know, but I think Toronto was really the melting pot of hip hop, the place where you know it really started to grow and build, like as a scene and spread. And then also to New York with Maestro Fresh West, he did an album with Showbiz back in the day, and you know that was like a big thing in Canada. You know, like Maestro did an album with an American producer. You know, he's like, you know, this kid from Canada.
One of the biggest rap leagues, battle rap leagues out is King of the Dot, KOTD. Yep. And of course the Dot once again is Toronto, T Dot. You know, Drake is representing T Dot. So I guess really T Dot got the whole Canada on his back.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
It's its own market then.
It is, but at the same time, I think you know, Toronto artists get a lot more shine than other artists from around the country. I mean, you know, there's the exceptions as well. You know, like from the West Coast, we had the Rascals, who were pretty good. And
the Rascals were from Canada?
Yeah.
The Rascals were from Canada?
With the Z at the end, Rascals.
With Buckwheat and like who later changed his name to Buck 50?
No, not those Rascals, different Rascals. Red Eye and Misfit.
Red Eye Rascals.
And DJ Chemo.
Okay, because I remember listening to a hip hop group called the Rascals.
Okay, I think was it with an S at the end?
I don't know. I just remember it was like the Rascals, and then later on,
that's a different crew.
And it was funny because like Buck 50 was one of the he was like the buckwheat of the group, but his name was Buck 50 later. And he tried to make another comeback the same time as 50 Cent, and he was dope. But I think like the similarity to 50 Cent in the name, it's crazy how something like the Rascals could go so many different directions.
Most def. It's crazy, man. It's crazy just the whole evolution of hip hop and just all these different areas. Like you have the United States, you have Canada, all around the world. We've talked to people that love hip hop. You know, I mean, the UK, DJ CW goes back. Look at the turntables and everything. Look at the records in the back. Like
I've got Canadian hip hop from the early '80s, by the way. There was
Dream
Canadian
Warriors.
Dream Warriors. No, it's before the Dream Warriors. It's what was it? Bobby Demo. Do you know Bobby Demo?
No.
Early 80s Canadian rap. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, it's more like sort of live band, like proper early sort of style.
Okay.
Yeah, what was the label? I'm trying to remember, but yeah, I have got bits and pieces from there.
Nice. Yeah, I would definitely like to check that out.
Yeah, I mean that's my era, the sort of stuff. Yeah, the more ounce Canadian duo. Yeah, 1980.
1980.
Okay.
Yeah, he did this one. Hey, Jose, you see Willie boy?
I don't know. Last time I heard, he went up to the big toe.
I get that fire, man.
He got more bounce to the ounce.
Well, we don't have classes in prepared funk.
Couples are encouraged to attend together.
Intensive. To ensure your health and stability in living.
Yeah, you get the idea. It's more like party sort of rap sort of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got one tune it's got like an instrumental that is like a really killer, mad instrumental on the B side, where they got loads of echo and delay on it. It's like a secret disco weapon, if you like. So yeah, there is some obscure early Canadian rap I love. Yeah.
Ooh, that had that funk in it. I felt the funk in it.
Yeah. Yeah, Amherst Records was one of the labels. I'm not sure where they were from, but yeah. Yeah.
Who nowadays do you, as far as in hip hop, who do you listen to? Like new?
Man, Royce the 5'9".
Okay.
Oh yeah, that new album is fire.
I like Royce.
That new album, Book of Eli, is crazy.
Yes, it is. He's
Salute
very
to
lyrical.
Royce.
I've been listening also to a lot of different vibes, like the Soul Action vibes, Joe K out of LA. That kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't really have a genre per se. It's like a mashup of all different genres.
Wow.
Like dudes like Gold Link. I don't know if you heard of Gold Link.
Yep.
Who else? Like, well, Bryson Tiller, and a lot of the remixes like Esta and these other producers, like instrumental producers style vibes. So I'm really digging a lot of the arrangements they're working on, like the arrangements of the beats, and the production quality is really good.
Yeah.
Tom Mitch from the UK also, man, he's really dope.
Okay.
Plays guitar. He's a vocalist.
Yeah.
Dope. Also, in terms of hip hop, I guess, there's some new stuff that just dropped in Canada. Shad K. I don't know if you heard of Shad. He's pretty big in Canada as well, from Toronto. Who else just dropped?
T-Dot on the map. Look, yeah. You putting more. You putting them on again.
So T-Dot has like under 3 million people, right? Like if we compare Toronto to like New York, for example, right? New York is like 9 million people or something. And we talking about the city, not even the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Toronto is like smaller, right? But it's representing like a large mecca out of Canada, to the point where it's becoming a spot where a lot of Americans are considering it a major city, just like they would consider like New York or LA or anything like that.
Yeah.
Do Canadians consider it like that? Or do they consider it like, oh, that's that city that's like close to America, and like, like how do Canadians think of T-Dot?
I think a lot of them think Torontonians are arrogant and only think about themselves.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like Toronto's the kind of place you can find everything, like all kinds of food from all around the world, music.
Big Caribbean population, from what I've heard.
Definitely. Oh yeah, I think
so the big cities have people think like that in their countries. Like people think the same of London. I know my German friends hate the people from Berlin. It's like, so that's probably a good thing if you're getting the envy sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like even as you're talking, you have like sometimes I'll hear Drake in an interview or something when he's not turned up, and he sounds like very calm. Like you sound very calm in that way too, where I think a lot of times when you're like calm, people just naturally think you're arrogant. It's like how if you're serious as a woman, the prejudice people think that you're angry. Like so many women I know that people always think they're angry when they're not laughing. And I feel like with like a calm Toronto personality, like people think you're arrogant. Just like, why is he so calm?
Maybe that's like an East Coast American thing because of the damn winters.
There we go.
That's winter, man. It's right? Winter. You Toronto people are bitter. We're bitter. We call Toronto the screw face capital, okay? What? Toronto's like this place where people will stand against the wall and watch you do your show full energy and just be like,
yeah, impress me.
They're cold.
What?
Impress me.
You know, yeah. I feel like that's how New England is, to be honest with you, too. Like, that's how I feel like New England is.
Yeah, that's how South London is. Yeah.
It's funny, when I went on tour in Russia, half of my luggage was like, I bought all those high-tech thermals or whatever. And when I got out to Russia, it was warmer than it was in Connecticut in New England. Like, I didn't get to use half the suitcase. Like, I feel you, man. The temperature can affect your disposition of people from the outside. Like, context is everything, right?
Yeah.
I would escape during the winters, man. I'd be out. Like, as soon as I saved up enough money, I would just be like, time to go somewhere warm. You know?
Yeah. So we got a question from the chat. Shout out to Elena, my queen. She wants to know, how do you see the future of music in this new blockchain era? This new era of this decentralization?
Okay, that's like, I think it's a multiple part question. There's, with us creating music for the intent of putting it on the blockchain and being a part of the blockchain ecosystem, we might have a different perspective of, say, like other people who are out there who are just finding out about Musicoin and other blockchain platforms that they can use and just being like, oh, what's this? Who's using it? It doesn't have a lot of hype around it per se.
Yep.
Whereas people are used to streaming using Spotify or Apple, for example. So, as something new, it's going to take time for more artists to get on the platform, to use it, to spread it around in their communities. And I think it's great for independent music. So, people making anything on their own they want to share with the world, and use this platform that they can benefit from by using it and being a part of the community if they want to, or just posting their music on there for the sake of it being on there.
So when you say there's multiple parts, you're saying one part is just recognizing that it's new to most people.
Right.
Aside from what it actually does, you're saying there's going to be a certain time delay for the adoption of just anything that's new.
Yeah, right? I think so. Yeah.
I agree. Before you go into the second and third point, I agree because, like, for instance, most people don't realize that I've been on the streaming sites for years, right? Mm-hmm. And I've made very little money off the streams, even though I had like a nationally recognized thing and critically acclaimed or what have you. And most people don't realize most platforms take 4 to 8 months to pay you, right? Musicoin pays you the same day, right? And not theoretically, like sometimes every now and then I'll just take some coins, cash them out the same day just to make sure it's still working. Right. I can't do that with, and no shade to all the others. I don't even need to say their names because I still use a lot of them. But like they're taking 4 to 8 months before I can even decide if I want to take out the money, if it's more than $20. You get what I'm saying? So it's really not that they don't work more efficiently in terms of Musicoin. That's a big barrier that it's just, it's this new thing. Does it actually work? And it's like, it works way better. Like you waiting another half a year, bro, to get your money out and it's less money. But just because it's familiar to you, you're not going to try out Musicoin. And it's funny. You know what I mean? It benefits us early adopters because we get the benefits before other people. But you feel sorry for people in terms of that mental slavery.
There you go.
Well, I think people want to be where everyone is. And currently everyone is over there, and you know, not everybody wants to be where everyone is, and those who aren't are now here, you know, joining the
We here, baby.
revolution.
It's us. We the
So,
revolution.
and it's good that way, because I think we can see like an organic growth at first and like a more community oriented growth. So for example, like myself and Skills, we always talk to the artists here in Malaysia about Musicoin, about getting onto blockchain platforms, about looking at alternative revenue sources for their content.
Yes.
And a lot of people are just like, okay, not everyone is there, so they're slow to move onto it.
Right.
But we are slowly building, you know, a community of people and connecting with other people from around the world. It kind of reminds me of the early MySpace days in a way, where you were able to connect with different artists from around the world, and then contact them and be like, oh, what's the scene like over there? You know, that's dope. You know, okay. And if you're traveling, going somewhere, you can meet up with people that you've met and hear like different sounds of hip hop. Like first time I ever heard hip hop in Spanish and Italian and you know, like Indonesian.
Got you.
Like all different languages, and
that makes sense.
It was really dope.
I remember how the radio show back then. We first got a computer in the station, and I loved just going to MySpace at that point and playing music that would never be on the radio, that probably wasn't even recorded yet. But just because this artist had uploaded, we could broadcast it to the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, like you said, getting the community involved. Obviously, the money's an important thing to get paid for your music. But if you've got loads of people mixing and communicating and sharing music and hearing different people's music in some underground sort of scene, to me, that's what's going to build it up. Yeah, it's not just going to be the big sort of artists. And yeah, it reminds me definitely the early days of the internet, almost early MP3 sharing, which I know we weren't meant to do as well, and stuff like that sort of thing. That was, like we said, that was almost like the mixtape culture of its sort of time. But yeah, to me, if it really takes hold, that's where it needs to take hold, in like the sort of new up and coming people who really want to start sharing and listening to sort of music. Because a lot of my friends who, you know, they don't really understand it. I got to be honest, it really still, they don't understand the concept of blockchain. I can try explaining it, but it's like, well, I don't really know about this.
Do people need to understand? Dope, by the way.
Exactly, that's what I was saying too.
Before we end the show, we definitely gonna need to hear another track from Vandal.
Almost deaf.
I also want to shout my co-host, you know, Pup. He put out one of the first tracks to do like big numbers through Musicoin, raise enough money to give food and clothes to local people in need in the community. You know what I mean? And a lot of people talk about like blockchain doing positive things, but that was like a real example that he did right here using music, so that it didn't even matter if you had money, you were able, just by listening to the music, to turn that into real world food and money and clothing.
Right. I appreciate that. And right back to the to your question, do people need to understand the blockchain? Do people need to?
Yeah.
Like, what's your perception on that as far as where you're going now? Because you're teaching the people, you're doing workshops out there, you're building a community. You do feel like so many people are saying, I don't understand it, I'm not going to get into it. And then, like Self-Suffice said, we feel bad at the end of the day, because we understand how this could benefit us all, benefit you, period. And you don't want to involve yourself or get yourself in position. But it's like, all right, well, how do you put it to someone that you don't have to explain it all? Do you have to approach it that way, or they have to get this information?
I think that naturally, you know, people are just going to adopt platforms. It won't really matter what they're running on, whether it's blockchain or not, decentralized, centralized blockchains, like whatever kind of platform that they're using, as long as it serves the needs that they want to use the platform for. And I think that in that case, people don't really need to know how blockchain works. They just have to trust that it does work. And I think that the transparency of blockchain allows for that. Definitely.
That's a really good point.
And we already have a certain mental slavery that already trust this internet and these applications, these phones blindly.
Right.
You know, we
People
don't
don't know how
know.
cell phones work. They don't know how Spotify works. They don't know how
Yeah.
Google.
We
So
don't know
that's
what
a great point.
server or what
Trust that it does work. And that's probably why so many people follow, like you said, they want to be where other people are because they don't want to actually know if it works or not. So they're using the number of people involved as a substitute for like, well, if that many people do it, it must work. Because I don't want to do the work to find out if it just works. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And there is a bit of work to do. I mean, you know, like any new platform you sign up, you know, figure out how it works, click a few things. And like with blockchain, it's a bit more complicated in the sense where you have, you know, private keys and you actually have like a monetary asset, a digital asset that's worth something. And you have to know how to take care of it. So I guess there's that learning curve as well of trying to understand security. Because a lot of people, I realize after starting in the blockchain realm, a lot of people have no clue about how to secure their online life. They use the same passwords like across the board. You know, their passwords they've been using forever or something, you know. And that's not really going to, you know, cut it in terms of the blockchain security. People will have to step up their security game. I think,
that is definitely the most important information that you would have to know, regardless if you don't want to know what blockchain is or not. You have to know how to secure your assets, your private keys, your passwords. You have to know that's one of the major things that I had to learn, you know, that I really took seriously when it came down to learning about it. Like I may not know how to tell you, you know, how to code a app or, you know, how to code anything on the blockchain, but I can tell you how to secure, how to store, how to move, how to exchange it. You know, those are the most important things that you need to know when you are adopting this technology. And you're like, all right, let me put it to use for my creative works and my music and stuff like that. So.
Well, you know what? I got my 71-year-old stepfather, David, aka Hallam Highwater, on Musicoin. So you know he's on Musicoin. So,
nice.
You know.
What instrument does he play?
He's a singer-songwriter. He plays guitar.
Wow. Okay.
We gotta check him out.
Folk and roots music.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
I've heard some beautiful music on Musicoin that's not hip hop at all, and like I'm so glad, you know, that these artists hit me up on Musicoin because first of all, I'm gonna eventually sample all of it when I get a chance, because nobody else has heard this stuff. Because one, it's new, and two, it's like it's not recorded yet. It's from independent artists. You know what I mean? I feel like part of the hip hop sound was always like digging in the crates for stuff that nobody has. And I think Musicoin, hopefully Tamiko, when she's on with us next week, hopefully she's able to speak to that, because I think being able to sample from other living artists from different places, like before their music's even out, is so powerful.
Right.
There was a group called the Arsonists. Speaking of you as the Vandal, the Vandalist, there's a group called the Arsonists you might have heard. And they had this one track called Flashback. And I was talking to one of the MCs, Destroy, one of the main MCs one day. And he was like, oh yeah, we met that group and they said we could sample them. And I just thought that was the best connect ever, to be able to sample from other underground artists, you know?
Yeah.
It is true, because that's what we all used to do.
It's funny you mentioned the Arsonists, because I did a track with the Malaysian hip-hop crew that my friend produced and put together, featuring freestyle from the Arsonists.
Oh, word!
He was on the tracks. This was like 2002, I think. 2002.
Word.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yo, you are a dope individual, man. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
I'm telling you, we definitely got to get you back on here so we could tap back into, you know, more hip hop, man. More hip hop.
Isn't Caravana happening in Toronto? Like, do you ever go back to Toronto? Right now, right?
Yeah, it's happening this weekend.
So are your friends tell you about it, or do you ever go back there, or what?
There's a lot of complaining going on because actually, you know, Scotiabank bought over Caravana and stopped calling it Caravana, and they call it.
Well, what is that for those of us who don't know what it is? What is that?
It's like one of the biggest Caribbean festivals in the world. you know, they take to the streets with like costumes and a parade
So
style with
like
floats
carnival,
in the
yeah,
back
like
of
carnival.
Yeah, like,
with like
and I think they do
massive
the
sound
same. They do
systems.
Juve, right? They do everything they would
It's
do
like
in Trinidad
Sunsplash. Yeah,
or
a lot of
Brazil.
trains in Toronto, like all through the whole Caribbean.
And you said this bank bought it out?
No, they just bought over the name. They bought over they're basically sponsoring. They're the title sponsor of the parade.
Wow.
So they changed the name.
So
yeah.
and what's the name of it now?
Wow, I can't remember. The Scotia Bank something parade.
Oh my God.
Some bullshit. I don't know.
That's the worst fucking name for
people
a
are pissed
carnival
off.
going. Yeah. I'm gonna go down to the bank. Yeah.
That's really bad, because this is like one of those things where people from that culture, especially if they want to connect to the Caribbean or if they're from the Caribbean, they want to celebrate their culture, right? And then it's like, yay, our culture, the bank.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder, do these people think sometimes, like, you could make a lot more money and have people support your business if you just supported what they're already doing.
Yes.
Yeah, there's also this thing about dependency in Canada when it comes to, you know, like relying on government or corporate sponsorship for funding and for programs and whatnot. And I think that's kind of came into play when it came to Caravana and the organizing committee and the people behind and, you know, looking at a way to make it work where, you know, they can make some money, have the thing run, and, you know, do it like that. And I guess the time has come for them to sell it to the public.
I know what's hard sometimes is like they cut the funding for these sort of events, and like some of the, I know, just saying from one side angle on it is that they cut the funding. We've had this in London for certain events where they have to get the sponsorship almost to get the event to go, which almost is you have to do a deal to get it going, you know. Whereas like there used to be a lot more government funding of this sort of thing, but I know they cut the budget in the UK for loads of events that, you know, suddenly they are like, yeah, they shouldn't be changing the name of a carnival. That seems ridiculous.
This reminds me of what you were speaking about with the decentralization in the article right here on your Steam It channel page. And you say like we got to think about what decentralization and this blockchain technology, what the problems can solve, what they would solve, and what other problems come along with it.
Yep,
exactly. And I think this is a very great article that everybody should go check out, you know, because it gives you that different perception again, you know, on is it, you know, the good and the bad of it, you know, because I'm thinking about, as we're talking about it, I'm thinking about, wow, see, wouldn't it be good for, you know, this to be sponsored by the blockchain, you know, or by Steam It or and now we making donations to the organization that's posting everything that's going on every day at every single festival. And all we have to do is go like, share, and that's going to generate something for them to keep it going, things of that nature. I'm just throwing ideas out, but also on top of that, what problems come on the other side of that with shutting down that bank, keeping the banks out. And they saying, well, no, if we can't get in, y'all ain't having the carnival on our streets. Y'all ain't shutting down our city. We ain't having it over here.
Absolutely fact.
So then that's the conflict, and that's the problem that will arise when we do get the funding to still do what we do through the blockchain. But then we still got to fight those corporations to actually move them out of the way so we can still do what we do. So this is a great article that you gave this perspective on, you know. Do you want to add anything to that as far as, you know, the different problems that will arise with blockchain or the problems we solve?
Good question. You know, I just kind of would like to focus on the point of, do we know what we're doing?
Ooh.
Because a lot of times we just jump into things and we just go. And that, I think, is mostly our nature as humans, and exploring, and our curiosity and excitement over findings and different things like that. But without really thinking about potential consequences, you know, down the road. Whether it's, for example, like cell phones, emitting different sorts of waves, how those waves impact the human body, the impact of screens on people's eyesight, the impact of social media on people's spelling or grammar, how they communicate, what is communication, changing the meaning of the word to communicate. You can communicate online, or you can, do you talk in person? Which one is communication? So there's a lot of things that we need to take into consideration, I think, before jumping on any one particular technology. But again, it's hard to do that in the fast pace of.
I think the genie's out of the bottle there. I think that's the problem. Yeah, we're not going to suddenly all not stop having mobile phones now.
No,
I think Wadner on the chat made a really great point. He said Billboard and the RIA need to incorporate Musicoin on the charts. So like artists could go gold, platinum, and diamond off of Musicoin or crypto streams, right? I think that would be one of those things that makes the industry and artists trust it more, right? Like if you could get one of these awards that everyone wants to get on Musicoin. Like I remember they did that with YouTube with the Harlem Shake. Like when that DJ came out with the new Harlem Shake and with Gangnam Style, they made it so that you could get certified through YouTube plays. So I think stuff like that would help legitimize it. Although, like Vandal and Pup, you're saying, like it would also bring into question, wait, if these industries are buying into it, what else becomes compromised? So it's always a balance. It's always a delicate balance.
Yeah.
This is definitely a deep topic, man. We got to get you back on the show. I know it's late over there. It's been over an hour already. I
got one last question. I've been dying to ask you this. So being that you were there in the beginning with all these cats that I was listening to on mixtapes, cassettes, and being like, oh, Canada got spitters, you know what I mean? And some of my favorite tracks this day are from that era, to be honest with you. Like The Professional and whatnot, you know what I mean? But when it got to the point where Cardinal Official was getting big and doing tracks with like Akon and Busta Rhymes, and then when it got to the point where Drake got even way bigger than him and bigger than anybody, did that have any impact on you as a hip hop artist? Just as a hip hop artist specifically, and then secondly, being that you moved to Malay, like what did it I'm trying to ask this in a quick question. So one, did that have an impact on you, right? Like it blowing up and getting to the Drake, or was it kind of like irrelevant because you had already moved out, or it doesn't really affect other Canadian artists? But two, like what does it mean to you in terms of, are you an educator? Do you do other jobs besides music? Did you already start making music your full-time, or think you could back then, or after seeing people like Cardinal and Drake, did you start to think like maybe you could do this full-time?
Yeah, great question.
All right, so to answer the first part of the question, I was already out of Canada by the time Drake started blowing up. So, there wasn't sort of that connection with Drake or his impact on the city. Like I knew that he was big all across Canada. I saw he was like selling out shows. I was checking him out, and it's from Toronto, right? So, I was hearing all kinds of different stories about Toronto started hating on Drake at the beginning. He went down with, down to, was it the Cash?
Oh yeah, with Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne's clique. Yeah. So, at that point, I think a lot of Torontonians, to be specific, Toronto hip hop scene wasn't really connected to Drake. I think they felt like, he kind of sold out in a way, but at the same time, it's again the screw face capital kind of idea of like, how do you react to someone's success from the city, in that sense, and like there are other people.
And often, if there isn't a lot of success there, you do have to leave the city to bring it back to the city.
That's always been the case with Canada and Canadian artists. You got to go to the States and prove yourself. And once you get accepted in the States, then you're big at home, kind of thing.
Facts. And I think that was the case for Eminem in Detroit. That was the case for really everyone in the United States too. Like, you got to go to New York or LA or ATL or wherever it's happening. You can't just stay. You know, J. Cole blew up when he came to New York. He wouldn't have blown up like that if he just stayed in North Carolina. But he came back. And I feel like, it's very clear at this point that Drake came back and claimed like Toronto as like, I did it for y'all.
He had to do it. He had to do that because, you know, like the way I saw it is a lot of people were upset, you know, and when he did come back and say, you know, I'm holding it down for Toronto, you know, he really made it a point to say that. And I think that was him kind of like owning up to the fact that, you know, he did things people weren't happy with, and, you know, he wanted to kind of make amends in a way with that situation. And I think he's done a good job at it. I think, you know, I'm not a huge fan of his music, but you know, it works in the clubs. People like it. So, you know, I think that's good. I'm happy for.
Well, that segues to that last question. If you could sneak it in, like, do you have other jobs on the side? I know you do a bit of education, like we all do on the side of our music. How has it been like making a living for yourself in Canada? And how's it been like making a living for yourself outside of Canada? And did that have anything to do with it? Did CDOT becoming a more successful mecca of hip hop affect that at all, or no?
No, I don't think it did. I mean, it might have been kind of the opposite because, you know, in Toronto, it's very cutthroat in terms of like artists, popularity, support, funding for grants, this kind of things. And it's very competitive. And I think that I was already traveling for a while, and a lot of the music I was making was relative to my traveling experiences. And I think not a lot of people could relate to that in Toronto so much. So I had some mild success with the crew that we had called Cryptic Souls Crew, and then we started this other crew called Symbolic Music Crew. We would do more theatrical hip hop presentations where we play different roles, and we'd have like a whole show designed with a storyline and this kind of things with skits.
Did you ever meet Eternia? I know she's one of the artists that we get.
Eternia is my homegirl. She's my homegirl, man. Yeah, shout out Eternia.
I was doing a show with her, and I remember she showed me some of her cards and stuff, and it was like sponsored by the government of Canada. I was like, what? Yeah. You getting sponsored by the government to be a hip hop artist?
Yeah. That's how it is. That's how hip hop artists survive in Canada. Yeah. If not, they're just underground, or they have to move on. I'll be honest with you, like in Toronto, I had to have a 9-to-5 job, you know, like I had to work and do shit I didn't like to do in order to save money so I could leave.
and now in Malaysia, you're mostly doing music full time, right?
I wouldn't say I'm doing music full time, but it's what brought me here. You know, on my travels, I had the chance to come through Kuala Lumpur, and I met some people, and they hooked me up, and they flew me out to do a show, and I was like, okay, there's like opportunities here. So I followed the opportunity. Really, like, you know, it's something that I enjoy the pace of life. I enjoy the food. I enjoy the people, the weather. There's no winter. But and it was raw because it was like this hip hop scene that was happening, but it was just bubbling. And I think a lot of the educating work I did was just sharing my knowledge of hip hop with people. And
did they consider you an obnoxious Canadian?
Not at all, man.
Did they consider you less obnoxious than the Americans?
I don't think there's really.
You can't top the Americans.
Of obnoxious foreigners. I think it's more like how people act rather than this perception of the obnoxious foreigner.
No, you definitely carry those good vibes, man.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And I think people appreciate that. They appreciate the time you spend with them, the words you share with them, because, you know, a lot of times as a youth, like if there's people that are older than you or who've been around longer than you think, oh, there's you know, they're a superstar, or they're a celebrity, or there's someone I can't approach them. And I think that it's good to be approachable because, you know, these are things that you could inspire somebody. and then they could put in work and do their, fine tune their craft, and then all of a sudden they're doing shit. And I've seen it with my own eyes.
Right.
In 2008, we did Think You Got Skills, which is an MC battle series that we started out like an underground kind of gig, and then it grew and grew and grew until like 2012 we had a massive one. And now all the kids who were going through that and a part of that are entering the industry as artists. So
wow,
it's pretty dope to see it.
You got the granny.
Yeah.
We giving Vandal a granny for actually making impact on the youth and the future generations.
And with that being said, man, thank you for bringing your great vibes over here, just all the way from Malaysia.
Yeah.
From
thanks for having me. Appreciate
to Malaysia.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, man. Some great words there.
Most
definitely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It was beautiful to share and talk and hear you guys as well.
Make sure you go and follow our brother on all of his social media platforms, YouTube, Steam It, but most importantly, Musicoin.
Yep.
Right here on the screen. Do you want to play? You want to play one more song before we go? We'll close the show out on one of your hip hop songs that you got. Which one would you like us to play?
Let's do one of the. Actually, do Just Another Day. It's a track with one of the kids I was telling you about, Sona One, who's like blowing up in Malaysia.
There we go.
The one. Word. Yeah, man, this one's called Just Another Day, featuring Nadira and Sona One. Sona One produced the beat. We recorded it on his table on a USB mic. To a laptop.
Nice.
Dope.
Nice.
Whoa, this is what I'm talking about. It's still innovation. It's still innovation at its best. We're gonna wrap it up with this last song, Just Another Day. Shout out to our special guest, Vandal. Shout out to CW, Self-Suffice once again for holding it down. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. Make sure y'all share. And we will see you next week where we're going to have another special guest by the name of TF, is what we like to call her.
When it TR? Oh my God.
You like to call her because you about to get a granny for missing up her name.
Here we go.
It's TR, man.
That one right.
You got 2 letters wrong.
By the way, she is a woman.
That's because of my social media dyslexia.
And we've had more guys than women. We've had a couple women on the show.
Yes,
but we need more women, and she is a woman. So ladies, tune in.
Yes,
we're getting some more representation. Let's make sure that she is respected and honored, because we do need to have. And she's a lawyer. A lot of times, part of the reason that these industries are messed up is it's too much testosterone.
Yeah,
it's gonna be refreshing.
We better be careful what we say though for lawyers on next week. Bloody hell.
Peace and love, everybody. We're gonna see y'all next week.
Shouts, Vandal. Nice one.
Peace.
I heard it from a good friend, the next year's trend. 20 years removed is gonna make them spend mad credit to land for all your passive fancies. Outdated plus the quality's getting lousy. It's the praise, it's the rage, feel the mania. Fit another slogan, it's like hoking in your cranium. Shirt off your back, that's this year's fashion. Starve more models, saved on rations. Dietary passion, prescribed by the Vogue. Strike a pose, rock clothes, and fit a line up your nose. And in the end, they chose their adventure. Skipped a couple pages, wound up straight in the center. Are you amazed or maybe dumbfounded? Lifted on the haze, making you surrounded. If some got it bad, need to say you with a pen and pad. Mad that an ad got him hooked on a passing fan. Bad.
And it's just another day, still I see the same old thing. And it's just another day, tomorrow will be the same. And it's just another day, still I see the same old thing. And it's just another day, tomorrow will be the same.
Definitely one of my favorites. That hook was crazy.
Yeah, I got it. honest thing. You got a need for designer things. Snakeskin shoes, bag made with anaconda skin. You got the radio telling you which songs to sing. Ain't got the Bieber fever, but it seems you fond of him. White flag is following the fad, ain't necessary to. You got an iPad, iPhone, and Blackberry too. Some would kill for your pair of shoes, but let a fad die out before it comes back to bury you. Like a religion, how you know every slogan, how they be loving it from Tokyo to Oakland. Spark up the arches, old is the golden, but most don't know we in the throat of the goat, And when he drop it, you ain't supposed to oppose him. The trending topic is expose your emotions. The globe is cold now, oceans are frozen. I keep my head up and put my nose where the smoke is.
And it's just another day, still I see the same old thing. And it's just another day, tomorrow won't be the same. And it's just another day, still I see the same old things. And it's just another day,
Shout out to Sona One.
won't be the same.
Sounds good.
No, that was all done on a laptop, man.
No way.
Third verse.
And it's just another day, still I see the same old
Break
thing.
it down.
And it's just another day, tomorrow won't be the same. And it's just another day, still I see the same old thing. Just another day, tomorrow won't be the same. And it's just another day, still I see the same old thing. And it's just another day, tomorrow won't be the same. And it's just another
This
day,
is going on the playlist.
still I see the same
Matter of
old
fact, check
thing.
this playlist I do. This is going on the top of the playlist.
Tomorrow won't be the
It'll
same.
be up within the next hour. Facts. This is too good.
You said that was recorded on just a laptop and headphone mic?
Yeah, and shitty like laptop speakers.
Nice.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that. I had Puff
Yeah.
on the top of the Musicoin playlist.
That right
You heard Puff
there.
saying, "I want you to
respect,
be
yeah,
turned
man.
up."
That right
Word,
there
respect,
was
man. Thank
crazy.
you.
Yo, if y'all love that, hit the like button. MC Plays, we gonna see y'all next week. Peace.
Yo, this is going on the playlist right now. You heard me? This is going